You guys want to go check out filming locations for Return of the Living Dead?
Oh, let's do that.
Let's go see what we can find. Now I know this movie's already been covered a bunch of times, but I've never covered it, and it's probably my favorite zombie movie, and since it's just a couple of days before Halloween, I decided to go ahead and do it. Now, something that you might find interesting if you compare my video and the other videos that have been done on these locations is some of these locations have already changed in just a short amount of time. Come on, I'll show you what I mean. So down this street about half a block is where we first see the punks walking down the sidewalk in the beginning of the movie. But everything that you see in the movie has been changed. That wall that they're walking in front of is gone. The sidewalks have been changed. Pretty much nothing is the same. But you used to at least be able to go down this street and kind of get an idea of where they're walking. But for some reason now, there's gates blocking off this entire street. As you can see, there's a chain link fence on either side of the street. There's big signs everywhere that say property of the city of Los Angeles. On the other side of the street, there's a security guard stopping people from coming in. So I'm not really sure why, but you're not able to come down this street anymore. So pretty much right where that building is, that's where the punks would have been walking down the sidewalk. Again, everything has completely changed, but that's what it looks like today. This was used for Colonel Glover's house. Now, unfortunately, the flagpole is no longer there, but these front gates appear to be the exact same ones that we see in the movie. Also, the pillars on either side of the gate and those lamps, everything in the front looks the same. Now, unfortunately, we can't see much of the house anymore because of the trees, but in the movie, you can see a tennis court just to the right over here. And if we take a look at Google Earth, there's the tennis court. So this would have been the view that the Colonel would have had from his backyard. You can just briefly see the ocean behind his house in the movie. And his house is right over there. Pretty awesome view up here. So right now I'm on Myers Street. Today this is a popular nighttime cruising spot, and you can come out here just about any weekend and find people doing photo shoots. But way back in 1985, this is where Suicide and the other punks were cruising in his car. So they would have been driving right down the middle of the street, coming right towards where I'm standing. And everything here still looks pretty much the same. This building, the billboard on top, this building, all of that can be seen in the movie. You can also see these loading docks right here on the right side. They pass right by them. The camera then turns and it's pointing this way, and you get a really good shot of this building, which is the same building that was used at the end of the Terminator when the truck explodes. You also get a really good shot of this building. Kind of hard to believe that they're in Kentucky when you can see Los Angeles City Hall in the background, but you can still just barely see right there peeking out from behind that building. They speed away from Myers Street, crossing over some railroad tracks with some large tanks across the street, and that was filmed in a completely different location. It was filmed right here. But as you can see, all of that's gone. Those large tanks, which would have been over there, they're gone. The railroad tracks, gone. But the railroad crossing sign, which would have been right here on the sidewalk, it was still here for quite a while after they removed the tracks. And even after they removed the sign, you were still able to find it on Google Maps, but even that's gone now. Everything here is completely different. The punks pull up right here and they're staring at this building, which of course was the Unita medical supply. Man, what a hideous, ugly place.
I like it. It's a statement.
So as you can see, the surrounding areas have changed a bit. More trees, more bushes, more fences. Just in general, the whole area looked a lot more open in the movie. the building's a lot less visible now. But if we head up the street just a little bit, the building's slightly more visible. The bottom half, still not so much, but you can see the top half a little bit better. And as you can see, I mean, some things have changed on the building. They've added some stuff, they've changed a few things, but for the most part, you can still recognize this as the Unita medical supply. Now, right there across the street, that's actually where the punks pull up and they're sitting in their car, parked against the curb right there. And I had this whole thing planned out where I was going to pull up and reenact that scene, but you actually can't even do that anymore because this entire street is motorhomes and buses and tents from one end to the other. Somehow it actually looked better in the 80s. Now, it would have been nice to get onto the property and explore the outside of the building a bit, but you can see right here, they keep the gate locked up. There's a big sign closed to the public. The other entrance has a security guard who's not too friendly and definitely doesn't want to let us onto the property. But I mean, honestly, there's not really that much to see. I already showed you the bottom half of the building isn't really visible, so it's not really possible to get that same shot like we see in the beginning of the movie where we see the VW Rabbit parked right in front of the building. But if we kind of peek through the fence right here, you can kind of get that same shot. But again, the front of the building is blocked. But right there on the side of the building, that would have been where Tina walks up and rings the buzzer of the side door. A little bit of a side note, the building directly across from the Unita building right here on the left, that was Willem Dafoe's hideout in To Live and Die in LA. Now, I might be wrong about this one, but I'm pretty sure that right out here on Moulton Avenue is also where they filmed the scene when they're trying to get away in the police car and all the zombies come running down the street towards them and it causes them to turn around and go back the way they just came. So this is the driveway right next door to the Unita building, and this is where the police set up the barricade, and then all the zombies come running from around that building right there and attack the police. And where this gate is that I was just talking about a minute ago, that's where all the punks would have run into the parking lot trying to get into the Unita building when the rain starts. Of course, in the movie it was a chain link fence, and they've since updated it to a newer gate. And this right here, this is pretty close to the shot that we get when Tina's leaving the cemetery and walking over to the Unita building. Of course, in the movie, it's a crane shot, so this is about as close as I can get from just standing on top of my car. So if this is the Unita building, that means right over here, this would have been the Resurrection Cemetery. So all of this right here at the end of the cul-de-sac, this would have been the wall and then the gates that take you into the Resurrection Cemetery. Of course, there wasn't really a cemetery on the other side of that wall. There was just some railroad tracks. And actually, in the beginning of the movie, you can see a train passing behind the Unita building. And if we use common sense, that would mean the train is running right through the cemetery. So obviously we know there was no cemetery here, but still really cool to see where that wall and those gates were. Also in this cul-de-sac, this is where we see the homeless man crossing the street, pushing the shopping cart, and he stops to bend over and pick something up, and that's when we see her come out of the fog and she slowly starts walking towards him, moving away from the cemetery before eventually running up and attacking him. So, are you guys ready to head through the gates of the Resurrection Cemetery? Let's do it. Well, this is it. This is the Resurrection Cemetery, where all of these nice new houses are. This used to be an olive grove, and inside that olive grove, that's where they built the cemetery. It's pretty crazy to think that where this nice little neighborhood now is, this is where they partied inside the cemetery. And I wonder how many people that live here now have any idea what took place here. So pretty much everything else you see in the movie was filmed right here. The entire front lower half of the building was used as production offices. The front upper half was used as craft services and dressing rooms. And the rear half of the building is where they built all the interior sets. They even filmed some of the exterior pickup shots here. The scene where they're in the police car and they're trying to get away and they crash into the building, that wasn't actually filmed at the Unita location. That was filmed right here on the side of this building. The scene where the ambulance driver is standing at the rear of the ambulance and gets attacked by all the zombies, that was filmed right here on this loading dock. And if you pay attention to that scene, you can actually see a post right outside of the ambulance. I'm going to go ahead and assume that it was one of these posts. Now, since that scene was filmed here, I'm going to assume that also one of my favorite lines in the movie was filmed right here.
Send more paramedics. Send more paramedics.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching.